Hey up everybody and welcome back. Well, got some, this is starting to sound like a broken record. Got some more new subscribers, just steady, almost one a day sort of thing. So we're over 2,000 by a good bit now. And lots of comments. And I'd like to mention the comments because, you know, I read other people's comments and to be honest, a lot of them are pretty puerile and they're just patting people on the back. Whereas I've noticed the comments I get are people offering advice, eagle-eyed people who notice things and, you know, did you notice so-and-so, did you put that washer on the wrong place, that sort of thing. So I often have to go back and look. Fortunately, so far, I don't think I've found anything I've done wrong. But anyway, thanks for them. You know, I mean, it shows you're paying attention, which is very good. I'm sure your teachers would like that. Anyway, since we last spoke, the valves haven't arrived, so nothing to do on the cylinder head. So some other bits arrived. The oil filter came, and you know something? I saw this box and I thought, oh damn, they sent the wrong one. But again, I was shouting before I was bit. It was the right size. So anyway, new oil filter and the big O-ring. Now the other thing that came was some nuts and bolts. I got some stainless steel Allen bolts for a couple of places, and when I was ordering those bolts, I get them from this place, Mastercard, that I mentioned, and I don't like to order just a couple of bolts, so I always like to try and think of something that I need. And I thought to myself, aha, ball-ended Allen keys. So I looked and they had them, so I ordered a set of metric and a set of imperial. Well, I got a bit of a shock when I opened them. Will you look at that? They're like a foot long. So, it's probably going to turn out that these damn things are too long to get into places. Anyway, they weren't too expensive, but I must admit, they were the only ones they listed, so I didn't sort of screw up and order the wrong size. Anyway, something else came, and I've got to zoom you in to show you that. This is something I mentioned ages ago and I completely forgot to order, so I ordered some the other day. The little decals, little transfer things that go on the switches. So, you know, we've got high-low lights, on-off, that sort of thing. So we'll be able to stick them on the switches. So, what else has happened? Oh, yeah, something else did come. Let me show you that as well. I got the rebuild kit for the front disc brake and a nice new piston, because the old one, it was pitted. I tried to clean it up, but there was just too much pitting sort of round where the seal went, and we would have got leakage past it. So we can build a caliper, and I also got, oh, I'll have to move you again, a nice new braided stainless steel brake line. Now, interestingly enough, the place I get my brake stuff from, where I said I was going to get it, I've stopped doing these universal size ones. So I was looking on Mike's XS, and they had some front brake ones in stainless steel. But of course they were for the standard handlebars, so they're incredibly long. So I'm looking, this one is actually for the rear brake. And it was 24.5 inches long. I thought, wait a minute, well, with having the clip-ons, of course we're so much closer to this, that when I measured it, it was like 24 inches, even with the forks fully down. So, got that. So we'll rebuild the caliper today and put this on and probably bleed the brakes. So that'll get sort of that front end done. We've got this all cleaned up and washed out and everything. Re-greased the rubber part here that moves backwards and forwards. So the first thing I've got to do is get out the old seal. Can you see this? Yes. So there comes the old seal out. Now look at the muck in there. So first of all, let me clean that out and then we can put the new seal in. First of all, I used a little screwdriver to get in there, like that, get all the worst out. And then I cut a little strip of Scotch-Brite, folded that over so it filled the groove, and then you just keep going round with that till you're all nice and clean. So then we get our new ones of these, and I'm actually going to put a little bit of brake fluid on this just to lube it up to get it in. And don't forget, brake fluid does not like paint, or should I say paint does not like brake fluid. And brake fluid does not like air because it's hygroscopic, it will pull some moisture in. So we get this. And we push that in there. Another one of these jobs where I'm sure my fingers are in the way. So there it is, that pops in easily enough. Hang on. So that's inside there. Alright, then again we'll lube it up with a little bit more stuff. Use a little brush. These, they call them acid brushes here, I don't know. But you go to the discount tool places and you get a pack of, I don't know, 20 for like $1. You know, about 70p. So we'll give that a good wet down. And then we can, whoops, looks a bit dark through the viewfinder there. I hope this is alright for you. There's lots of light around. Then that goes in. Little rock, little twist. Once you get it in, it should go in like that. Whoops, we pushed it in a bit far there because we want to get this on. And that goes on around the very outside. You know, the knack with these is to start at the back, place you can't get to, so that the final last little bit is where you can get at it. Where's the one with the little, there it is, a little hooky thing. There we go. So that goes on there like that. That's stage one. And this spring holds it on, and we'll put it on so that it doesn't pop off while we're trying to get the other bit in. Come on. Oh! Who was it in a comment said that you had to have a lot of patience to do this stuff? Funnily enough, it's something I don't have, a lot of patience. It's something that I actually had to work on as well. Like when I was programming, I always was expecting things to happen so much quicker. I hated having to write lots of lines of code to get it to do something which I thought it should do straight away. And a lot of machining and certainly paint. If you're not prepared to put the time in the preparation for paint, then forget it. But it's boring. Alright, so that's on just on top of the little lip. So the next thing is to get that onto the lip of that. Come on now. And then when that's done, come on, look, it's that last little bit there. Oh, you bugger! See, I told you I didn't have any patience, didn't I? Oh. Bloody hell. Alright, I'm going to switch you off because this is going to take me ages to do and it'll get boring. Alright, there it is, properly in. And I push the piston all the way back, because don't forget you're going to be bleeding this, so you don't want to start off with a massive air in here. Plus you want as much space as you can to get the new brake pads in. So let me get the box with the brake pads and we'll put them in. Now I've had to look at this a couple of times, looked in the parts book and tried to find something in it, because it doesn't seem like a particularly good way to put it together. All of the other disc brakes I've worked on, where it has a hole like that, it'll have a pin that goes right through for them to slide on, or maybe an ear at the end, but with a pin to slide on. This doesn't. It has one pin. So you put the spring piece in there, you put that in and press it down against the spring. Then when that screws in, that is on that pin. But there's nothing to hold this one down against the spring pressure except these that seem to go in there and then go onto the actual caliper mount. So I mean, I've also seen them with a thing that goes inside the hollow part. The Kawasaki ones, I think, had a thing that went inside the hollow part of the piston and had a couple of little clamps, a couple of little fingers that held that. But the parts book doesn't show that, not for the Yamaha 650. So we'll put that in. Squeeze it down against the spring. See, these things are just too loose. I don't get it at all. You know, look, there must be something to hold this in. Let's go over the caliper mount on the forks and see if when I've got these on it holds it all together. All right, I found it out. It was a case of looking at the brakes and looking at the mountings. Okay, so on here there are bosses cast into this, and these little things press onto the bosses. They get locked on there. I've already put the one on the top. Then the pads slide onto there, and then we'll put the caliper on. And of course this is going to slide on there, so that screw that went in there, which we're going to have to put on from the other side, allows for this pad to move a little bit, because this one's going to be up against the piston. So anyway, the idea is, let's see, you put them in on those. Excuse my head. Oh, hang on, let me very carefully put a little bit of grease. Look at that. Good old aftermarket stuff. Would they fit? Yeah. Now I say a little bit, you've got to be really careful here, because you don't obviously want grease to go on the brake pad. Actually, fair's fair, this wouldn't normally be painted. Well, yes they are, they're black and they're not sort of anodized. And actually the one I bought had been what's the word I'm looking for, people? Powder coated. So I actually had to sandblast the powder coat off when I Otherwise it would have been incredibly thick and things wouldn't have lined up. So anyway, I'm putting this grease on as much to make things move easily as the places where it's been filed. Alright, so that in there. Let me get that little bit of grease off my finger there. I'll put that one in. Let me change these over because, as I say, I had to file them and I did them individually, so they may be slightly different. Yeah, see, that one's gone straight in. Alright, and we put that in. Then, make sure all the rubber boots are right. That will go on there. Now we can compress that spring, you see. And everything is going to be held in the way it should be. Spring's making putting that bolt in a little. There it goes. Okay, now then I'll trundle around the other side, put the little screw slash pin in there, which you can get at quite easily actually through the spokes. That also needs a little squish down to line the holes up. There it goes. And add a little lock washer on it. So the last thing that goes on here is this. So I annealed the copper washers. Look, there's a nice little doodad cast into that to hold it. This is a lot of nice little touches on this. The Japanese stuff. So we'll tighten everything up. Well, let me zoom you back a second. Zoom you back. There, can you see? Yeah. I also get there's a clip that goes on here, goes onto the mudguard mounts to hold that in. I also got the one for the other side which goes into the mudguard for the speedometer cable. So let's tighten these bolts up at the bottom, and then I think I'll probably take the headlight out to do the top, and we'll drop the bike down, put the master cylinder connection on. So we've got the headlamp off, and give me a chance to tighten those up a little bit better. What was I going to say? Can't remember what I was going to say now. Oh yeah, these things are actually screwed on there. Well, they're threaded, so you can do it that way with the angle going like that, or you could do it that way. I can't really decide which way to do it. I can put it on like that. Well, actually, if I put it in that way, I can put it on turned like that. It goes on there like that, but I'm not sure how far back the headlamp comes, so we'd have to check that. Or I can put this up behind the bottom yoke and then put it on like that, and it'll go on that way around. I think maybe that is the best. I think that's out of the way of stuff, so let's put it on like that. Now then, I noticed, interestingly enough, that this came not with copper washers but with the the type with the metal outer and the sort of rubber inner like you use on pedal taps, which actually do seal up very nicely. So let's put that on there like that. Oh, I had a comment from David Cowton. I think it was David, whose name is his name backwards, so it's Cowton, not what David or whatever. And he mentioned that he'd never realised how much stuff went into doing one of these engine swaps. Well, this is a perfect example. Because I put lower bars on, as I mentioned, this is 24.5 inches long, it's a back one. The front one should be 42 inches long, and of course it also means that when I put the clutch cable on, the clutch cable's got a funny little, it's got a piece built into the end and everything to fit into the clutch casing correctly. Instead of coming to here, it's going to want to go right up there, so I will have to shorten one end of it. So any road up, let's tighten this up. Yeah, I think that's nice. And actually there's a hole in the yoke there. I could even make a little bracket up to hold this sort of out of the way a little bit. Maybe put it round that side of the tacho cable for one thing. And that'll give me a curve, because you like to have a curve so that when the forks are going up and down, the curve can flex like that, go bigger, smaller, rather than it being straight. Sort of as the forks come up pushing, it's much better if you've got a curve and then it can go like that. So as I say, we'll tighten this up. And we'll tighten, oh, that's a 13. That's why I've got a 13 out down there. And then we'll tighten that up. Where are we going? I'm screwing it on. Hopefully, if these are made properly, they won't leak. So I put the headlamp back on, make sure all this fits properly, and then I suppose we can see about putting some brake fluid in and getting a brake that works. Let's see if we can get these this front brake blade. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail because I'm sure most of you have probably bled more disc brakes than I have. But basically we have our master cylinder. Here we're going to be relatively easy because we've got a nice, almost straight pipe. It's not going around bends and things that can trap air, so we shouldn't be too hard to do. And also, of course, you may remember there's nothing in here. The piston's right back, so there's not a lot of space to have air. So we're on the bleed nipple, which is on the top of the caliper nicely. Some tube going there. We're going to put some brake fluid in here to act as almost like a one-way valve, so when the bubbles are going out it won't suck air back. And all this rig here is to get it up to the right height. But I've always found that when you sort of move in the bleed nipple, the pipes move, and I don't know how many times I've knocked over the cup with this in. So I've put it in something else so that it doesn't fall around. Now, first thing was I had a nasty moment when I realised how sloped the master cylinder was. I thought, oh shoot, if the hole is up near the top, it might be difficult to get enough in there. But fortunately, the hole is actually, it's more than halfway down, so we should be alright, even going around corners. So we'll take the top off, and there's always some form of rubber seal, and generally it's like it always is, I suppose, it's a fold out type. Looks flat now, but when the pressure goes down in there, this will open out to fill the space. And the one thing I mentioned earlier was that paint does not like brake fluid. So we're going to put that in so that if we spill any, we'll have something to soak into and we can move it before too long. Just make sure we can still work our lever. Alright. So we'll put some in there. See, I've already dribbled a little bit down now. So the idea is we pump some pressure in here. Hold this in and then let the pressure out there. While we're doing that, this level will go down because we're pumping it through here. Starting to feel a little bit more of a build-up now. Still nothing at this end. I do actually have one of those vacuum things to put on here to suck it through. But to be honest, you know, it's such a mess on to use it that for something as simple as this, I never do. Actually, we're leaking at this bottom banjo joint, so let me tighten that up. At least that means we're down there. Right, let me top this up. Anyway, look, this is another one of those jobs that I'll be fiddling on for a while. So that's how we're doing it. Let me switch you off and I'll bring you back when I've got it bled. Now I actually let the bike over a little bit to get this filled up, but it's nicely filled, everything's on, and it's not back to the handlebar lever, but that's absolutely tight. And there was no more bubbles coming out the bottom, so that is it. Alright, so what else can we do? I'll tell you what we'll do. We will remake the bracket for the right hand side panel. I'll show you what I mean. Now you remember that we welded a bracket on here for the, where is it? For this to go on. That goes on there, and then there's a bolt went into that bracket, and then we made this bracket which went on there. So they were the two brackets to mount it on. But of course now we have that goes on there. So the bracket actually only needs to be straight, because that's basically a straight line. Where are we? Get something straight. Oh, there we go. See, it's once come down at ½ an inch, so this bracket isn't going to work. So what I'll do is I'll make a new bracket that now bolts onto there. So I'll use this because I've got the captive nut on. We'll heat it up, straighten it out, and just shorten this and do that. There's the little bracket screwed to the, or bolted to the the side cover. So when the side cover goes on, and we put that bolt in there, that now sits right over that goes in. Bolts down, and we're all set. So that will be it for today. I would imagine the valves will have come by we get to our next video. So let me say goodbye, and you go off and enjoy yourselves.